and I want to laugh, so I'm going to.
What's the tweet?
So someone dressed up as an Omega for
Oh my God, somebody
Halloween,
told me that one.
and like you already know, but the comment he was like, I think he said, "Is somebody gonna come whoop me?" or something like that, and that kind of tickled me just a little bit.
It's so funny that you bring that because my little sister who lives in DC, she knows him.
Oh,
And
okay.
so she was like, you might want to like really take that down. That's like not the best thing for you to be doing. And as she's
Yeah,
telling me, I'm sitting there like, see, there's so much wrong with that.
so
So
much.
wrong.
All right, yeah. Well, you know what? Like right before you started saying that, we are going live. But,
Ooh.
it's all good. It's all good. Hey man, this adds flavor. It's gonna be all right. So yes, 1212. Hello. What is going on, Twitter? What's going on, people? This is Marcus Kwame, and we are back with Black Comics Chat. It's a very, very, very special episode. You know, we love all our guests, but we definitely, got a lot of love for our guests tonight. And yes, first and foremost, I'm gonna go around and introduce the Black Comics Chat crew. Leo will be with us in a little bit, maybe about 20 minutes. But first up, as always, we got the International Woman of Mystery. We got the Carmen Sandiego of the crew, always fresh off of her award tour. We got Grace.
What's going on, good people? Good to be with you all on this evening. Super excited on this for this show because of the female energy girl power that's here. Get to represent and really like nerd out. So I always can love a good time when you get a chance to do that.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, so we'll definitely catch up with what's new with you, Grace. I know you got some things to update us on, but as I mentioned, I'm Marcus, and but you're not here to hear me. You're here to hear our guests, and
right.
And I know if you listen to our show, then you definitely have heard their show. Last week, I mentioned you would be coming, and I started to say like if you haven't heard, but everybody's like they've heard it.
Right.
So anyway. The show of which I'm speaking is Misty Night's Uninformed Afro. It's a super, super dope podcast. Very informative, very funny, and very insightful podcast. You can find it wherever podcasts are found. And we have the two hosts of Misty Night's Uninformed Afro with us tonight. We got Jamie Broadnax and Steph I Will. How are you doing, ladies?
Good.
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
No, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I know people have been waiting for this, and we were waiting too. Yeah. So the just for the listeners, the first episode we had with the team of MQuA was I believe it was like last May, and we had a good time speaking, and that was during the first season of Misty Night's Uninformed Afro. And the second season just kicked off recently. So anyway, I'm not going to describe it because I know you ladies can describe it much better. So can you just give the listeners an origin story of the podcast and let them know what it's about?
Certainly. So Misty Night's Uninformed Afro is a podcast about Black superheroines. And I myself and Steph, we host the show. We have a great team that consists of MR Daniel, who's our audio engineer and editor, Alinda, who's our website developer, Doc Jones, who does all of the episode artwork that you see come out each week, and also Kiana Ebony Brown is responsible for the logo art for Misty Night's Uninformed Afro, and Steph's hubby does the music for the show, Manny. So the idea behind it was a while back. Steph had tweeted out about Catwoman, and she just had a whole bunch of guys coming into her mentions trying to mansplain her about the fact that there's not that many Black superheroines being represented. And at the time, I was really interested in doing something different in the podcast space. I had just gotten off of a podcast that I worked with Rewire Radio called Get It Right. And I really love doing something a little bit different outside of the Black Girl Nerds podcast. So I wanted to do something on my own. And between her tweet and thinking of something new, I just thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a podcast about Black superheroines? So I reached out to her and was hoping and crossing my fingers she would say yes. And she did. And then from there, we just kind of put our heads together and started coming up with who we were going to profile, when we were going to go ahead and get this put together, and then also just kind of compiling all of this great research, which in large part Stephanie is responsible for, and finding out about these superheroines. And what's really great about the show now, we're in our second season, but I find that either if it's a character that I already know about, then I learn so much more about this character, which is, really inspiring for me. But then it's great to stumble onto new characters that I haven't read about before and learn more about, who they are, where they're from, and some of the creators too behind the stories, like for example with Zula Hendricks in season 2. So it's been a pretty good run so far, and I'm really excited that we're diving into this second season, and people seem to be really excited about it.
Well, damn, Jamie.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to hog the.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, but that's what you get. They know their stuff. Yeah. No, but Steph, I mean, did you have anything to add? I mean, Jamie was very thorough right there. But.
Yeah.
No, Jamie was excellently thorough, and I appreciate it. No, I couldn't have put it into better words, honestly.
Okay, cool. Well, now that we've given the introduction, I mean, obviously, like I mentioned before, anyone listening to this podcast is familiar with both of you. But just in case, for the one or two people who stumbled through the doorway, can you, starting with you, Steph, can you, run down, who you are and what you do for the podcast?
So, researcher. Which has been really nice because I do that for a living. So it's been really nice to kind of apply that to something that I really, really love, which is comics. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, going into the first season was, of course, extremely fun because these were mostly women that we were very familiar with. But the second season has been really interesting because some of these women we haven't been familiar with, and it's just brought a different take on it for me, because some of these women, like Martha Washington, for instance, if you just listen to that episode, was a book that was like heavily recommended to me at all times, but I just never picked it up because the artwork, I just wasn't, it didn't speak to my spirit. But reading Martha Washington really made me wonder, a lot of times when folks are recommending these books to other Black women, I'm just like, so have you read it, or you just recommended it because you want me to shut the hell up and there's a Black woman on the cover? So that part has been kind of interesting, in seeing that aspect or realizing that aspect in season 2, just as a researcher and, really digging through the stories for a lot of these characters, and just like, so is there really substance here, or were these women that have been, recommended because folks were just like, oh, Black person, so let me recommend that to another Black person?
Yeah, no, definitely. After Jamie does her introduction, I definitely want to get into Martha Washington, because I know, Grace, you've written about Martha Washington, so I think it'll be an interesting discussion, and I definitely had a few thoughts. No, it's a Black Comics Chat always has room for differing opinions. It's all good.
Absolutely.
So Jamie, obviously, again, everybody knows you, but just for the one or two people who just happen to stumble in, can you tell them what you do?
Yeah, so I am the editor-in-chief of blackgirlnerds.com. It's an online community built for and by Black women that are in the geek and nerd subculture. So we cover everything from comics to gaming. A lot of entertainment news comes out of BGN. We do TV recaps, movie reviews. So, it's like a lifestyle website for Black women who are self-identified as geeks and nerds. And I've been doing that for 5 years now. We also have a weekly podcast, as I mentioned before, and a YouTube channel where you can see a lot of our video content, and a very active social media presence. So a lot of folks that stumble onto BGN find out about us through Twitter. So there's a lot of live tweeting of TV shows. Currently, I'm all about Mr. Robot. So you'll see a lot of live tweeting there. Also, you'll see me on The Walking Dead on Sunday nights. So yeah, that's pretty much BGN in a nutshell. I do that. I still have a full-time day job. How I'm able to get sleep, but I'm working on trying to let one of those things go. So yeah, that's what I do. Oh, well, I should mention a couple of other things. I always forget. Okay. So, and in addition to Black Girl Nerds, I co-founded a convention called Universal Fan Con, which is coming out, premiering April 27th through the 29th. Baltimore Comic Convention Center. Sorry, it's super late, and then I get really kind of crazy at night. Baltimore Convention Center. So yeah, please check that out for all the listeners about Universal Fan Con. But really proud that this convention that celebrates inclusiveness and diversity, and really just a place where fans can feel space. Wow, I cannot talk tonight. I really can't talk.
You can't talk and I can't listen. So, so if I can get another go round.
Maybe I should have had that glass of whiskey that you have over there.
It's going to be interesting.
It is.
So if I can get another go around on what I do, because I totally forgot that.
Yes.
I definitely host and co-host 2 other podcasts. My own personal one, The Lemonade Show, where I just pretty much talk about how I'm feeling about certain comics, what's going on in, the geek world as far as shows and movies go, and usually go on a tangent on something. And Let Go, Let Flow, I host with Liz the Movie Girl, which we're covering Girlfriends, the sitcom, if y'all remember, and I hope you do. So we talk about that, and we're actually going through all of the seasons to just figure out, hey, was the show as good as we thought it was, or was there much left to be desired? And so far, after 2 seasons, it is as good as I thought it was. And I'm always getting called out my government name on Twitter. I think Lauren so far has the longest government name that she's given me, because I'm always tweeting something that for some reason y'all just, I guess it doesn't sit with y'all souls, but I tweet.
No, you do, and you are a master of the tweets. Definitely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Usually sometime early in the morning.
Yep.
It's like
gotta keep you on your toes.
I haven't had my coffee, or I'm bemoaning starting the day, and I'm like, and then I open up Twitter and you posted something hilarious. Like I really enjoyed the Freddie tweet. I think it was yesterday, but always tweeting some goodness.
Yes, so it's a great way to get the day started, for sure.
So I have a question, and I hope this isn't too controversial, but girlfriends or living single?
Ooh,
I'm gonna go with living single.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to probably still go with living single, even though I'm currently in girlfriends, but it really no rhyme or reason.
I mean, living
That
single
was my first interaction. So
yeah.
It's living single for me as well. I just identified with the characters more in living single,
right?
Girlfriends.
Yeah, and living single was like a blueprint for so many things.
Yeah,
not just Black sitcoms either. So yeah, I agree.
I mean, Khadijah owned a magazine company. I mean, how
flavor,
right?
Yes, yeah. I had a rotating crush on all 4 of them.
A rotating crush.
Yeah, it was usually mostly Maxine, but it would rotate.
I love Maxine was my favorite. I love Maxine.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I identified with Sinclair more, but I love Maxine the best. And I loved her chemistry with your boy. I forgot his name.
With
Kyle.
Kyle. Yeah. You knew. I knew they were gonna end up together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was inevitable.
Yeah.
Right. That's just.
I just watched that episode too.
Oh, Living Single.
Yeah, the one where they I think it was the end of season 1 where they slept together, or she laid off from her job.
Oh,
no,
was it that early?
I'm thinking of Maxine and no, I'm sorry. Told y'all don't listen. I'm thinking of Maxine.
Oh, Maxine and Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say because like Sinclair and Overton, that was much later, right?
Yeah, right. That was much later.
Yeah.
And if you're just tuning in, this is Living Single chat.
We are living single.
Yeah, that theme music.
And then, the theme song. You got it.
Yes.
You got to give it up. Definitely. Yeah. So, all right. So you mentioned that obviously you're in season 2. Matter of fact, I think the day I hit you ladies up was when you dropped the first episode of season 2 because I was amped and I was excited, and I knew we had to talk about it. But yeah, one thing I have really enjoyed about season 2, which you just mentioned, is that I think in season 2 you've actually got into some characters that aren't necessarily as widely known, because the first name that a lot of people think about when they think about Black women in comics is like Storm, who you covered very early on. But there's so many other characters, and I found these first few episodes to be really, really dope. The Rocket episode was the highlight, and also that Alien Defiance. I actually didn't know about that book, so I'm glad that you brought my attention to it. But what can you just maybe expand a little bit more on the differences this season, like both in your approach and also with maybe the characters that you're covering?
Yeah, for sure.
So the approach for me as far as research has gone has I don't want to say necessarily felt like uncharted waters, because some of these women I am pretty familiar with, but because they're not from the big 2. Well, a couple of them were, but the majority of them weren't. That was just kind of different because they either didn't have as many issues or not that long of a history. So trying to figure out like how to present it to you all in a way where we aren't telling you everything, but at the same time getting you interested enough to want to pick up these books or to even learn about these women. The Rocket episode, the research that went into that was like, for me, going back into a time machine, because Milestone, I remember my brother reading those comics, but I didn't get a chance to really read them like that. Like I probably read a couple Hardware, a few Icon and Rocket, and some Static, but I didn't really read it as much as he did. So when I went back and I was reading it from a 2017 lens, it was just kind of like, yeah, this is very time capsule-y, which is perfectly fine that it is, but that was it was interesting. I'll put it like that. So that was different. In comparison to, Storm, who also had a older history that went all the way back to the 70s. It didn't feel as time capsule because, we've had more Storm all the way up until now, but we've kind of only had Rocket in that pocket of time. So it's much left to be desired. How would Rocket be today? And I think was it NYC Comic Con that they announced that Milestone was coming back. So I'm really interested in how they bring back Rocket and also Icon.
For sure.
Because Icon was very interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, we threw a lot of shade at Icon in that episode just because, he's like the Sheriff Clark / Ben Carson of comics.
That's cool, Jamie. That's cool.
I have not heard that one.
Well,
I
I agree. You know what? I think you definitely.
There's a lot of respectability, and
Yeah.
most folks know of Icon. He's a Black Republican. So I definitely feel like in this time he would have voted for Trump. And there's just a lot of comments that he makes, even with respect to police brutality, where he's just.
No, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. No, I was gonna say, I respect you so much, but I do think maybe Romney, but he would not have voted for Trump. I don't. I
Okay.
Do you think Rocket would have intervened? Because that's the only way.
First of all, I think Rocket would have gone with him to the polling station and would have been like, saw to it that he did not make a mistake.
I don't think he would have voted for Clinton.
You don't? Well,
so he would have been a Bernie bro?
I don't think Icon. You said Romney, but okay, going down to the end of the election season, I think he would have voted for Trump. But one of the things that I wanted to point out too with the Icon story that we had stumbled on while talking about Rocket was, the way he interacted with police, and that he was very colorblind to issues about race. Meanwhile, Rocket was very woke to those issues. Right. So it was a really great, interesting dynamic seeing that these two were partners and very loyal to one another and worked together. But yet Rocket was very progressive and liberal, and Icon was, more conservative. So there were things that didn't settle well with me when, he reacted to her pregnancy and such, but it was interesting stumbling onto those.
And speaking of her pregnancy, for the life of me, I, for some reason, really thought that it happened later in the series. I didn't know. I don't know if I forgot, but when like the third issue or whatever was her holding a pregnancy test, I was like, oh, it was on this out the gate. So I don't know why I thought it was later in the series, which I thought is, interesting that they went that route to have that so early on in the series. But nonetheless, I think that it was important because of all the women that we've covered so far, I want to say that Rocket and Misty Knight are the only ones that actually had main story arcs that centered around, reproductive health, women's issues that way.
Yeah.
Which is entirely different conversation, but one that got me to thinking, like, so is this, for Black female characters, like, is this really happening in their stories? And so far, those are the only two that we've covered that are coming to mind, which is interesting.
Yeah. And even with those two, there's like a huge gap in between and those conversations happening too. So
yeah.
It was a very progressive comic book, especially during that time.
Oh yeah.
No, absolutely. And I would argue even compared to today, in many ways. And I think you're 100% right, Jamie. I think, but you know what I do think is interesting. I think that the series throughout the length of the series, I think they did give. Hold on a second. Yo, Leo, what's up?
Did I show up just in time to talk about Milestone?
You did. Yeah. Leo's here, everybody.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Well, my point though was that the series it did give them opportunity to grow as well, and I think Rocket's influence really, because even in the first issue when I think Icon was at his most Ben Carson-ish, one of the
borderline Sheriff Clark-ish.
Oh my god!
I know, right?
Fly.
Yo, Leo felt it too. When you said Sheriff Clark, I was like, whoa, that's a little too far.
Yeah, I felt that.
Wow.
That's all right though. I respect that. No, but what I was gonna say is that on the very first page, I think the Icon appeared on, like, one of the first things he mentions is that he met a young woman who made him see things differently or think about things differently. So I think one of the interesting things that the series did is they gave him an opportunity to actually, you know, grow and come to his senses and kind of see.
Yeah.
See,
You
this
know?
is how people sell him to me. Like I was not an Icon fan, and people sell him to me like that he's actually like part of a journey that like kind of takes place through like the longest series in Milestone. I think is Icon the
I
longest Milestone?
believe so. I
I
believe
want
it
to say
might
it
be.
is. Like there's a ton of it. I think there's more issues of that than Hardware, and Hardware I think was the first.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like he had a long road, and I read some of that road and couldn't get into it. And he was like probably the Milestone character I know of the least because I read the least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, was it for you that you weren't a fan of the book, or you weren't a fan of the character?
I wasn't a fan of Superman, and I couldn't shake like his Superman-ness. And I don't
That
think
makes
I read
sense.
enough to see like I don't know a delineated path for them taking him away from being that or being like a kind of
I think Rocket was the difference. You know what I mean? Like,
like-
Superman didn't have any version of a Rocket type character, and then even if he did, like I think Rocket's specific, like, you know, specifically as a young black woman, being who she was, I think that just made the story a lot richer than any Superman story could be, in my opinion.
Right.
No, I get that from MQuad. Can I talk about my Milestone person? Because I brought a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. What you got?
I brought one that people never talk about. Let me see if any of y'all know who I'm talking about. And it's not Zombie. That Zombie is a close second. Zombie is like I love Zombie, and it's like that was the weirdest comic they ever put out. Mine is Death Wish. Did you ever read Death Wish?
I
don't
briefly
think I
touched
did.
upon it. Briefly touched upon it.
No one read Death Wish. Death Wish was a 4-issue miniseries about a transgendered police officer, a woman, and there was like a serial killer who's hunting down this guy who is killing transgendered people in like a slum in Dakota who work the pier, in some facsimile of like Chelsea Pier, and like runs a house of trans people, and the cop used to be a guy, ran into the killer, and then 4 years later is transitioning and is pre-op and doesn't intend to go post-op. And it was written by 2 transgendered people.
Yo, I knew nothing about this.
Dude, no one did.
either.
No one did because it didn't cross over into anything. I don't think they ever used the characters again. It was like an isolated 4-issue series that I highly, highly recommend tracking down because nothing else in the mid 90s was like that. I mean, even in like barely
not at all.
Barely have that today.
I'm googling it right now.
Mm-hmm. And I have a bonus for y'all because I actually found a picture of Joseph P. Illidge as a baby in the back of one of them, and I'm gonna upload it to the stream.
Nice.
So young.
Wow.
So young in it. You look so
Baby
young.
J Pills.
Yeah, like Lil Pills.
Baby Joe.
Lil Pills.
I'm gonna upload it to the hashtag. But yo, like seriously, it is, and not only that, another bonus. It is a very early example of work from J.H. Williams III, and it's beautiful. Like the art is totally gorgeous in that very matte, Milestone style, but it's J.H. Williams with all his crazy ass panel designs and all that shit. It's really, really good. Yeah.
H. Williams, who's done Batgirl?
Yes.
Batwoman. Oh wow. Okay.
I always mix those up, but yes, Batwoman, and he's done a lot of. He did. I want to say he's the one who did the Alan Moore Promethea. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
I think he did Promethea. Yeah, he's known for having like really elaborate, creative panel designs with like where the panels are actually part of the story, and there's and they'll melt or bleed or do all kinds of things. And he was doing this. I mean, he got probably 10 times as better as the work that's in Death Wish, but it's a really, really good marker for that artist as well. So yeah, Death Wish, it's like the forgotten Milestone comic. Right below Death Wish is Zombie, Korean American, crazy, poetic. It's like the Invisibles except Milestone. It's like the Milestone version of the Invisibles. Zombie is like wild. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah. So Milestone.
It's like I'll be checking that out.
It's on my list too. Yeah.
Yeah, highly recommend. It holds up too. It's really good, and no one really talks about it.
Wow. Yeah, I'm mad I missed that, man. That's a hole in my Milestone knowledge I didn't even know I had.
The Milestone put out a lot. Like, I mean, mad people still haven't read like the Wise Son mini, and they had all kinds of weird. I mean, probably there was ones like no one talks about Shadow Cabinet much either, and I think that ran for like less than Blood Syndicate. Blood Syndicate I think was like a crowd favorite because it's really, really good.
Wow.
Man, how'd I get in the chat and quiet everybody up? That's not my
Because you bring in gems and
we're
shit.
just
Nobody was
soaking up
ready
your
for-
knowledge, honestly. We're just
Right.
soaking it up. Yeah, because I mean,
man.
for me, like I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, I never heard of Milestone. I didn't know about Milestone Comics, you know, and I think when someone connected me to Static, because I remember watching the Static Shock series, and they were like, "Oh yeah, he was part of Milestone," and then I started hearing about the other characters. You know, like Rocket, like Icon, Hardware, Blood Syndicate, and all that. I was like, okay, I need to check that out. So I'm fairly new to the Milestone universe because I was more of a Marvel kid growing up. I didn't really read any DC comic books much. So
I was a Marvel kid too, for sure.
Yeah, I was definitely a Marvel
Same
kid.
here.
But I was ready for Milestone. But I definitely see how that could happen.
yeah, so I feel like, you know, I missed that part of my childhood, being exposed to this great imprint of comics that featured all these great Black characters, and like, man,
Yeah, but you know, I mean,
but I'm glad I know about it now. So
yeah, you know about now, exactly.
yeah.
Please take a peek at the hashtag and see a photo of Joseph P. Illidge. Wait, like,
I'm gonna check it out.
Illidge I've ever seen. I should have tagged him actually. That would have been smart. Did it come up?
I don't see it yet. But actually, yeah, speaking of the hashtag, you guys got a lot of shout outs. Shannon Miller from Nerds of Prey, friend of the show, shouted you out.
The homie, yeah.
And DY shouted you ladies out. Tony Snark jumped into the chat. A lot of people, so yeah, people happy to see you. And actually, Tony just tweeted a picture of Death Wish.
Yeah, that's fourth issue. That's the fourth issue version of the character where she goes leather. Let's just say fourth issue.
Goes leather.
Goes leather.
That's a great tagline.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, listen, like Misty Knight's. I mean, I probably missed the intro stuff for the show, but Misty Knight is like, you know, y'all. MQuA is making moves, and there's tons of activity for tonight's special entry. I ran home from that YouTube workshop because I'm like, I'm not missing the show with my girls. So, yeah.
Oh, thanks, Leo.
You all have a really, one of the things I love about the podcast about Misty Knight's Uninformed Afro is that you have very thorough close looks. I like close look shows. I like shows of people just blathering too, and I'm part of those shows. But I also really like shows that like do like intense looks. In certain ways, I feel like your show is comparable to a totally unrelated show that's called How Stuff Works, which is like this like big podcast show where like every episode they take like a subject and they just go all in on it. You know, it could be anything from like the history of action figures to, you know, how, you know, senators are elected or whatever. But they apply like a similar level of scrutiny while also bringing personal involvement. And I think like that's why like your show works so well, because you come with the research. You also come with like the new fresh feelings about the piece, and then you've got recordings and you've got all kinds of other stuff, and who knows what you have planned for later this season. But yeah, it's a really special entry into the comics podcast world.
Yeah, and it's very accessible too. Like I feel I had some of my non-comic book friends listen to it, and they were like very engaged and very much like, oh wow, like this is cool. And so the fact that you don't necessarily have to be this comic book fan to actually enjoy it, you know, speaks volumes as well. So it, you know, definitely crosses borders for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's the idea. We don't want to, you know, seem as if this podcast is for a specific audience of comic book aficionados, right? We want everybody that either if you have never picked up a comic book in a day in your life to check it out, or someone that is very well versed in comics to listen to our perspectives and also kind of stumble onto some new information about some of the women that we profile. So I'm glad that it comes across that way, that it's reaching all types of listeners, because we definitely want to make it, you know, inclusive.
And it also helps for when people ask me, so who are these other Black female superheroes that you say that there's so many of? And so I get to be like, please refer to such and such. Because it's like, that's always the question that comes up. And I'm like, you know what? I got some long, detailed, you know, full of information research here, right for you right here. You can listen to it, you know, go to the gym, play it. And so, you know, it answers the question, you know, for me there.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's something that I really, really loved about our podcast, because I feel like we're in a, I don't know, like right now, because I guess geekdom is quote unquote mainstream now,
Right.
that there have like people start to feel a little isolated or like left out, because if they're excited for a movie or something like that, then you got like 50 people saying, well, you weren't a fan before, so how are you a fan now? And I
forget
will
them.
never understand that. But this is a great time to just, try to get more people excited about your fandom. So I love that. I love that people who aren't really necessarily comic book readers, can listen to the show and not feel overwhelmed. Because I've listened to some comics podcasts before where I'm like,
yes,
oof, do I read comics? I'm not really sure.
Right.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, there's a universality there that's, I think, really, really special, and it's very, very easily approachable. Also, just obviously, you're able to give a perspective, from from your experience, from your life experience, as Black women, and in the ways that these books are either successful in their representation or lacking. And I think that's really cool. And I love the humor too. You bring to it.
That's all
as far
stuff.
as like
Yeah.
your questions.
I just be
Stuff.
talking.
That's all you with the humor stuff.
I mean, like if I could divert just to Black Girl Nerds in general, it's like there is also this aspect of y'all can like things and still have things to criticize about them.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
That's really crucial and important. And I know that Tanya DePass often goes on really educational Twitter rants about this, because she gets hit up with a lot of people like that. We're like, well, you said this, you didn't like the thing. It's like, I'm allowed to criticize the thing. I'm also allowed even to like the thing I criticize,
Right.
having like issues with it. And I mean, it's something I feel like that's on the blackgirlnerds.com site a lot. It's like, I don't know, of course there are going to be things that like we're inescapably stands for, but I mean, even the stuff that's beloved, there's still things to point out and think about, and that's totally something that happens on Misty Nights also, which yeah, it's so well rounded and so kind of maybe that's part of what makes it relatable. It's that it's not just a show to like purely promote these characters. It's to like think about them and weigh them and see what works and see what doesn't.
And then I like the fact too of bringing the whole piece on hair. Like there's just, I mean,
Oh yes, yeah.
because that's already such a very complicated, complex topic as it is. So to just like introduce that or connect it rather to these characters, you're just like, oh, this was genius. Like, why didn't somebody think of this, before? But thankfully they thought of it now. So, and like to just go through the various hairstyles, you're just like, oh, that was like, as I was listening to the episodes, I was like, yeah, that was not a good look. Like, ooh.
Are you talking about Misty Night's Relax Bangs?
No, Misty.
Oh my goodness.
Misty, Monica, it was just kind of like, oh God, that was, Vixen's, with the braids and
the Wolverine on the top and the red veins on the bottom.
Oh.
I'm mad nobody was at for Halloween. You know what? I'm
I feel like you need to like
I really
trademark
do.
or copyright that or something.
Yeah.
Man,
top.
man.
Well, Grace, that's actually a perfect kind of segue into something I wanted to talk about. Speaking of hair, because on the episode that came out yesterday, you spoke about Martha Washington, and not hair specifically, but I know one of the critiques that I think you both had was the way that Dave Gibbons, who is a celebrated artist who has done a lot of good work in comics, but he had trouble rendering Black people specifically, and that's something that I noticed in the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
You had a lot of artists that were like great artists, and they had done a lot of good work.
And now, don't restrict it to.
Oh yeah.
That hasn't changed.
Definitely now, but I think now,
really
now they have access to Google now, and back then they had to actually.
That's
they
why
actually
it's
would have
worse
to.
that they fuck it up now. Exactly
Right, absolutely.
They just get dragged on Twitter.
Right.
When they do.
Yeah.
Right, but that is the thing, like and it's sometimes it's a thing where maybe the person is drawn well, but they do that weird they don't quite know how to draw dreadlocks. They don't quite know how to draw braids, so they draw something like right in between, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so I thought that was an interesting, you know, that was a very fair critique. And I know on the show we've spoken about the way that artists get hair wrong a lot. And so I don't know, like I think that Martha Washington and your discussion on it was really interesting. And you know, Grace, you've written. I'm not starting to fight, I swear.
Oh,
But
no.
I know you've written about Martha Washington. So I actually thought it would be cool to, like, you know, to hear just some thoughts on the book, you know, from multiple perspectives. You know.
Yeah, you know, like, I guess for me, so I got introduced to Martha back in like 2011. One of my professors was like, "Man, you need to like read this story about this, you know, Black woman that has a whole omnibus." And so I was like, "Omnibus? What is that?" And so he literally brought the big thing.
The big one, like that has everything.
That's what we researched on.
Okay.
And I was like, "So I'm supposed to do what with this?" Like, and so I when I got it for myself, I got the smaller version because I was like, that Joker is like a bowling ball, the big, huge one. So I remember going through it and being drawn to the fact that like she was from Cabrini Green and hadn't, you know, forgetting, you know, that quick that Amanda Waller was from Cabrini Green. So to me, I was like, wow, okay, so here's a woman who's from like an actual existing place in the US that I'm familiar with, that I knew people that lived there. So it was like some of the real stuff that stood out for me. And then the fact that it was like critiquing, you know, the Reagan era, the war on drugs and so forth, that I began like really kind of like looking at Martha Washington, and in the way that it brought a Black female into this eye of talking about patriotism, which often is not really discussed. So for me, that was like the intriguing thing about Martha Washington, although there was very much other problematic things, but the fact that there was a discussion that wasn't being held in Marvel nor DC, but through Dark Horse, where we're talking about, you know, this woman who holds this high military rank, who is dealing with, you know, white privilege, white oppression on a day-to-day basis, who's going through, I called her this round the way girl, you know, and so, you know, for me, I was just very intrigued by Martha and was like, how come nobody was talking about this woman? Like, you know, because at the time, you know, I'm like, it's Storm. That's all, you know, that's going on. And so I'm like, you got somebody who was, to me, just, you know, deserved as much credit to discuss, and who, you know, their creators, you know, like, so we could say a lot about Frank Miller. You know, we're bringing to the light stuff that was, you know, very social political commentary, you know, that kind of being voiced through this Black woman. So yeah, that's kind of my little 2 cents there with it. So
see, I don't want to fight you, Grace. I think those are
ain't no fight.
No, I know. No, but that's all very valid, and I definitely agree on a lot of those points. I think, I don't know, I feel like that episode was a breaking point for me. It sounded like it if you listen to it, because I don't know, I just felt a lot was left to be desired from Martha. Like I don't, because that first, I guess, couple, I don't know how, I guess Give Me Liberty, all of Give Me, it was, I don't know how I finished it. I think I finished it because I wanted to know like where the hell Frank was going with it. But
I hate where it goes, by the way.
No, I do too. And it was just a lot. It was a lot. And at times I'm just like, can you please, for the love of God, stay on topic? Just for a quick second, because it felt like a early MTV music video from the early 90s where it was just a bunch of shots at times. I'm just like, okay, blood, Nazi sign, Martha, gold hair, and that I don't know.
Desert with Forge wannabe. Yeah, I mean, it was
Oh god, that whole arc is so freaking confused.
It's just so weird. There's just so many meandering story arcs in that book that you don't know what kind of story it wants to be. And that's why I got lost. I didn't even get to finish. One of our SoundCloud commenters, kind of joked on me about Jamie didn't finish the book. I couldn't finish it because I didn't know where this was going. And when a story just doesn't resonate with me, I just completely disconnect. So for me, this episode, and it's interesting because we had our little production meeting with MR who edits our podcast, and she was just like, this was really difficult to edit because you guys were like complaining and ranting the whole time. And it just really was a hard story to get through. And then I really didn't like the way she was written, which if you listen to the podcast, we talk about that a lot, about sort of those tropes of being born out of trauma and poverty and Black pain. And it's just like, it's one of those fictional writing tropes that you just see all of the time. And I wish writers would be a little bit more creative and inventive, that you can develop a character in a different way than just using trauma. But yeah, it didn't stick with me.
And then of that trauma, her relationship with her mom, I don't know anything about it.
It's very, like you said, left to be desired.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And it's just like, okay, so you took this tropey route, fine, whatever. So what are you going to do with it? And you didn't do anything with it. So I'm just like, so you just wasted my fucking time making me feel this trauma to have nothing to really connect to it. It's crazy because the only story I read from that omnibus that really made me feel like I kind of knew Martha, knew her and how she worked was it was from the Happy Birthday Martha Washington, the one story where she goes to go get blood from what's the character's name? He's kind of like Captain America, but he's not.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it right now here, pulling it up.
But she
There's
goes
so many characters, so it's hard to keep track.
It really is, because Raggedy Ann is still giving me nightmares.
Yes.
But she goes to go get blood from him, and you really see Martha as a Black woman who really does believe in patriotism and pacts, and that she understands that while she loves it, at the same time, they're taking too much from the soldiers. In that moment, I felt for her and what she was going through, having to get this blood from him. And she's like, no more. You all take too much from us. And that was the only instant that really kind of, I don't necessarily say resonated with me, but that was the only defining moment. I was like, wow, so that's who you are. And I wanted more of that. And I didn't really get that the more that I read. And then her relationship with, wait, is his name Weinstein?
Yeah, Weinstein. Yep.
Huh. Okay. Well, no relation. But
it's an unfortunate name to have right now.
Her relationship with him, that was interesting. I don't know what to make of it. I don't. That was interesting. In the ending, and so my homegirl couldn't get dick and save the world at the same time at the end because he breaks up with her, and I get it or whatever, but I was like, you could have came too.
And everything that you all, like I said, I'm totally with you on that. I'm there. We on the same page with that. And I don't know what it was that was intriguing about it for me, to just get through, because I was able to get through it. I think it was a determination for one.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Grace. I'm not to cut you off, but I'm just curious, because as I listened to all of you speak about this, one thing that occurred to me is I think you mentioned, Grace, that you had read it pretty early on when you weren't aware of a lot of the other characters, right?
No. I mean, I was aware of a lot of the other characters, but I was just not aware that both her and Amanda Waller came from.
Oh, okay. I got you. Because I guess that blows my theory. Because I guess my theory was that maybe having read
that, a shell shock thing.
Well, yeah. Well, I wasn't gonna say shell shock, but I figured maybe that if it's something you read before you've been exposed to a lot of other, you know.
No. And I guess it was like a extreme departure from somebody like Storm, who was my, first entrance into comics, that I was just kind of like, okay, this is like way on the other side, the other world, yeah, I guess like the whole the political thing, the whole military thing was just really like stand out to me. And I was like, how is this being addressed? And I guess I was trying to find other avenues of how to interrogate the story, so like trying to bring in Afrofuturism to it and all this. So I guess I was like really just trying to be, trying to create some different, dynamics to think about the story because of how tragic it is, because of how, emotional it is. It's a very jarring, omnibus graphic novel, comic, however you want to, describe it from beginning to end. So
yeah, and like, and if I'm not mistaken, and it's been a long time since I've read it, Martha Washington came out sporadically. It was like
in 1990.
Right.
Yeah, like the first story came out then, and then it was like years, and then return to it and like come back. And it's sort of weird. Like I wonder, because I personally have like it's been years since I've read it, but I've read it multiple times. I have an affection for the Cabrini Green Martha's Childhood that story.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, like that's the one that like resonated the most with me, partially because like I thought it was interesting that she had this patriotism that was so damaged. I thought that like you see her kind of go through like that's her period of life where she's her most self-destructive.
Right.
Like she subverts that later and she's not self-destructive anymore. Like I haven't read it in years, but there's the image I always remember is when everyone gets hit with like the equivalent of Agent Orange, and she like takes off her protective gear in like, in this kind of like mad misery, like in this like war scene, in this war theater scene, and she's like totally fucked from everything that's happening. And I remember thinking about that. It's like, wow, like she doesn't die, it doesn't kill her or anything like that, but like that's how like given she is to that, and how, I don't know, weirdly betrayed she feels from all these emphatic notions of pushing her to war and like protect her country, and all the stuff with the president and all the stuff with the media, and how the media like brainwashes like these people who are like living totally impoverished and under the government's thumb. That story I felt was always the most richest. And then it was like, maybe we can track like Frank Miller's fucking derangement as we go through the years of Martha Washington. And it's like, oh, what is he doing now? Like what? And by the end of it, I've only read the final arc once, and it was like I felt almost as shitty as I did when I read the sequel to Dark Knight Returns. I was like,
that says a lot.
Yeah, I'm done with this.
Yeah, the one aspect of her childhood that I did like was the fact that she was a computer hacker. Like she hacked into programming to give herself good grades in school. So I did like that part of her, but yeah, the rest of it was just like not so much.
And what's weird is like if you in the omnibus, there's this letter that Frank Miller writes before it gets going, and it's just like it's weird because it's like he talks about how he has this like connection with her and how she feels like, my sweetheart, you've been both daughter and mother to me. And it's like just this weird letter, that he writes. And I'm just like, I don't know what to even make of this. I don't even know what to make of their connection and how this even came about. Like there was always that question in my mind, like, come up with this? Like, what brought you all to writing this story? And so, which is a question that still lingers in my mind, like, how did this happen for you? So
yeah, well, I mean, that question brings to mind for me, Grace, something that Jamie and Stephanie both talked about yesterday, which is the whole Black pain aspect, which I was acutely aware of as I read both that story, and I also remember beyond just the common aspect of Cabrini Green, just the similarities in the way that these white writers, who had done other celebrated works, had really, when they chose to focus on a Black character, they really made sure the past was like just riddled with pain, nothing but like agony. And the thing that struck me about that is like, just because, let's say your character is like super poor, like that doesn't mean there's no joy in their life. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that their whole existence is defined by pain. You know what I mean? But I think that in both of those stories, you see maybe writers having trouble with grappling with the full humanity of these characters.
Mm.
I'm about to get fake deep real quick, but I
Okay.
wonder, I wonder if there are parallels to when white writers go that route, when they have Black characters and how they view, just Black people's history in America from slavery up until today. Like, so you survived that shit. Look at you now.
Right.
So I wonder, like, if there's parallels in that and how they review slavery and just Black people's history in America as a whole. How do they see it? And I wonder if it's coming out in that writing, because it's just like, why is that what you choose? I mean, it's a trend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think you're right, because I've definitely mentioned on the show before, but studies have found that even in the medical profession, white physicians are like less inclined to treat Black women's pain. You know what I mean? Like, so you can have the same symptoms as another patient, but like in the case of the Black person, they just have this bias to believe that like we're built for more pain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or things like that. So I can easily see that, and that's the crazy thing about that is it's implicit. You know what I mean? It's like it's not even a thing that I think they've investigated, which is no excuse.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's so baked into the fabric of America to see Black people as defined through pain.
Yeah. And that's why it was so refreshing for us to do the Monica Rambeau episode, because Monica's, we don't really go into her childhood much, but her relationship with her parents was just very healthy. Like, she grew up with a mom and a dad, a 2-parent household, and she still had a relationship with her parents as an adult. And that was just something that was refreshing for me, because I didn't see that in a lot of the research that we did for so many of the other Black female characters in last season, and even now with this season. So when we do see those moments, it's rare, but it's good to see. So
yeah, because I'm thinking about Lunella, like her parents, she's 2-parent household, but they don't. Monica's parents are like really supportive of her superhero life, and given Lunella is a small child, her parents are still kind of
running the streets.
Yeah, her parents aren't as supportive. So, and that's perfectly fine. That though they differ in that way, but just always thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah. And Marcus, when you asked Grace about, what made her finish, the Martha Washington omnibus and why she felt the way she did about it, like, I wonder if I had not, read all of Alien Defiance, which I will note that the creator of that is problematic as fuck. We did not find that out until afterwards.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. We had heard about the creator, Brian Woods. Apparently, he's also a sexual harasser.
Oh, that's a Brian Wood book?
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he went through a very ugly thing a year or two ago.
Totally. Yeah, we didn't know that.
And so, yeah. But I wonder, had I read Martha first and then read Alien Defiance later, like if I would feel a little differently, because the Alien Defiance story, the way that Zula is presented to us, I found parallels in Martha, like the kind of the military and all of that, but I just felt like I knew her more than I knew Martha, which was crazy because Martha's got a whole damn omnibus.
Right.
So I just wonder, like, if I would have read, if I didn't know anything about Zula and I read Martha first, like, I wonder, I'm pretty sure I would still kind of feel the same way, but maybe, I don't know, it maybe would have been so hypercritical, but then again, probably not. So
yeah, I want to shout out some good chats that are going on in the hashtag that we may not be abreast of. Okay. The one is at Ty Fieri on Twitter, whose current handle is Domino's Pizza, which I'm here for. I think it's pretty funny. But she has been going on a long conversation about aspects of Storm. And I mean, I know, like, I feel like, we could probably mention Storm at least once an episode. But I mean, more or less in the negative, and like ideas of her quote is that she never really registered to Storm as Black.
Mm.
Feel writers wanted her to transcend that.
Ooh.
Yeah, and later she goes on to say that like Black Panthers will kind of like unearth like characters that she connected to more in terms of blackness. I recommend everybody check out the thread. If you go into the Black Comics chat hash, you'll see her chatting. What do you guys feel about unpacking that? Like, I know that Misty Knights must have or has talked about Storm quite a bit, but I know that this must also come up, that like people come up with their kind of counters to Storm being the ersatz figurehead, spokeswoman for Black comics. How do you often respond to that or interact with those notions?
So one thing that's really interesting to me about Ty Fieri's comment is how she connected more with Black Panther than she did with Storm. And I think a lot of that has to do with who was writing these characters, right?
Yes.
Storm has never been written by a Black writer.
Mm-hmm.
We will have Ta-Nehisi Coates doing Storm
let
soon.
that sink in. Let that sink in.
I mean,
let this sink in for a second. Yeah.
But I mean, Reggie wrote her as part of Black Panther's arc.
Right. But
yeah.
I think James,
and I have problems with that too, which we talked about a little bit in the episode. But yeah, Reginald Hudlin had done the run of Black Panther where T'Challa gets married to Storm. But yeah, I mean, she's never technically been written mostly with, by a Black person. So that, and then you've got Black Panther, where Black Panther's been written by Reginald Hudlin, Christopher Priest, currently Coates. So there's some concerns about that. And then even now with the run that's going to be happening with Coates, while everybody's celebrating that, and I will always forever be a fan of Ta-Nehisi Coates, I still take issue with the fact that she still hasn't been written by a Black woman.
Right. Yeah.
That opportunity could have even happened when Greg Pak was writing her in the solo run, which love Greg, fan of Greg. He's a great guy. But I think that that opportunity again was missed by Marvel to pen a Black female writer to the story.
And then Yona Harvey co-wrote her in that
in the Crew.
Black Panther and the Crew. Y'all know how I feel about that.
We can respectfully disagree.
I mean, I look, I get it. I don't, but it's just I don't know. But
no, seriously, speak on it. I do.
It's just I don't know if some of the story I just wish that it would have went longer so I could see where he was really trying to go with it. And I felt like he had to rush a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we didn't really get a chance to get into that because it was 2 issues then. But my issue when it was canceled. But my concern was not necessarily how Storm was written, but with how Misty was written. Because they did a whole All Lives Matter
oh God
spin on her character in Black Panther and the Crew.
And cop or not, like I just still don't, not in all of the books that we read of Misty, like I don't recall one damn story arc where that would have made me, when I read that would have made me say, you know what, that lines up. Because even because I don't even the Misty in the Luke Cage series, like she finally has her rose-colored glasses shattered as well. So I don't know. I could be biased.
But to go back to your question, that's how we unpack it. And that's why we've created this platform to allow Black women's voices to be heard on how we think of how these characters have been written, how they've been depicted, whether it's in TV, film, animation, how we respond to the material, because we haven't had a voice otherwise in the past. So it's a very interesting perspective to see from that Twitter user that they connected with the material more that's been written and helmed by Black writers than a character that, hasn't really had a Black writer. And, we can count Reginald Hudlin for that very short run, but no.
You know what? And I think, wow, I am blanking on his name right now, and I don't know why, but someone else, another Black man wrote a little bit of Storm too when
Eric Jerome Dickey did.
Not Eric. Not that. Not Eric Jerome. Another.
Which time period was
Jesus Christ. Like the later 2000s when Black Panther was running around with the Fantastic Four, Dwayne McDuffie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know how it was blank. I'm
Oh,
sorry, y'all. It's late and it's Thursday. But yeah, there's a panel that I tweeted out from the comic that I was reading. I think it was I don't know if it was a Fantastic Four or it was Black Panther, but the Thing was there and T'Challa was there being ashy and Storm was present and the Thing picks her up by her hair and it's like, and she's like, see, it is real. I was like,
Wait,
oh.
really?
Oh yeah. I still
And then
can't believe
T'Challa
McDuffie wrote that. That's just
which we kind of, but you know what?
that's what
Watching
happens when you don't have a woman. Right?
no, and then watching
Yeah.
Justice League Unlimited and the way that Vixen was written as I'm watching it again for the umpteenth time, it makes sense that was written that way.
Mm.
It's fine. I still love me some Dwayne McDuffie, but I
Yeah,
started
yeah.
noticing some things.
Whew, yeah,
Well, I mean that goes back to your point about how you can enjoy something and be critical, you know?
right,
For
right.
sure.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. So let's bring it up. What else we got?
The timeline.
But I look forward. I'm very happy that Storm is getting another run. It's
Right.
I mean, damn. Like really, like come on now, y'all.
About
All of
that
the X-Men have had their own books at this point, and we just got our Storm book a few years ago, and we're finally getting a second one. So I hope that she's going to have some justice done to her character, and I hope that maybe Ta-Nehisi will kind of sort of share the wealth with some other Black female writers, like he did with the World of Wakanda series.
Yeah.
So, I have hope. I'm going to be positive on this one, but man, it was an opportunity missed to get someone on there that, can get some shine.
Yeah, because like
Absolutely.
for me, this run is like the not saving grace, but a better portrayal of like the Hollywood. Because like that still hurts my soul like to this day. Her cinematic portrayal.
Oh yeah.
It just like that
Right.
will never leave me. And like to this day, people know like that's if you want to like get on the bad side, that's what you bring up. And so, the hope is that this comic, even though like Jamie said, a missed opportunity, will at least kind of like redeem some of that for me at least. So
Yeah.
Right.
Am I crazy or like this is a thing that doesn't happen anymore? Like I remember back in the day reading comic, one of the ways that like original series got pushed is that they would appear as backup stories to books. It's like you'd be reading a comic and then it would have like some cool backup story and it was like 5, 6, 7 pages. And then it was like, and then that would like, maybe it would be a continuation thing and it would go through like several issues of the book. And then that comic would have its own book. And I don't think that happens anymore.
World of Wakanda did it briefly in that first issue, but then nothing happened with the Zinzi didn't get her own book, but no, you're right, Leo. Like I don't see that as much as I used to.
Isn't that and it's like weird because like Marvel's friggin' line that they always push is just like, hey, we tried it and it didn't work out. I don't know. It's like, why don't you actually like and yeah, it's like I mean that was like I remember specifically that being a successful way to launch something. It's like people get interested. They're like they send them letters. Back in the day, they would send letters.
the letters,
they would send letters and be like, "Oh, this like story is so cool. What's happening with this character?" And they'd be like, "Oh, maybe we make this its own book." But it's like now they just like give them a series for a couple issues, and then they're like, "Oh, no one bought it. So sorry, we're killing these characters. They're not around anymore." Yeah, they should bring that back. There's literally it's 5, 6 pages. Like, all right, if you're buying a floppy, you got a few Clearasil ads or whatever the fuck in there, but you still got 5, 6, 7 pages of extra story and maybe there's a new like franchise in there that you don't feel like spending $26 worth of paychecks on. Like that's fine. We can take a look and see what happens.
More opportunities for
Right.
other writers too.
Right.
Yeah,
Hello.
they should totally go back to that style. Like I'm totally here for it. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of miss seeing those letters in there.
Oh, I missed those. Yeah, like I remember on the recent Misty Nights episode, Jamie was talking about being in Bitch Planet, and it's I have made it into a couple of comics, which is so weird because like when you talk about comics from like years ago, it's like those are gone forever. Like I have an issue, and I was like super like excited to like see like a letter that I wrote or something like that in the issue. But it's like, yeah, like that's kind of gone now, and it's nice when it's nice for the comics that do it or that like have like back matter like that.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Bitch Planet for a quick second?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
I just want the triple features. That was, I believe, 5 issues total, and it was a collection. It was an anthology, and it featured, up and coming writers and artists and people of color, women of color, all of it. And I really loved it. All 5 issues, the stories were phenomenal, and that was a really great example of what you could do with your platform, which Kelly Sue DeConnick did, and like gave these writers and these artists, the ability to put Image Comics on their their resume. And the stories were really, really good. In fact, I mean, if they're going to do a Bitch Planet series, I almost would be very interested in seeing it in anthology form than the actual current story arc. No shade at all. I love it, but
it would work fantastic. You're totally right.
Yeah.
It would work.
Yeah, I just really love that that setup, and it was probably one of my favorite things to come out of the summer, to be very honest. I didn't know I was going to love them that much. That's all I had about Bitch Planet.
I super dig that. Like there's an example, which I mean maybe a problematic example specifically for an issue and a cover that caused a lot of stir when it came out earlier this year, but the anthology series Island that Image puts out, which is Brandon Graham, I feel like that's a big part, like what you were just saying, like it gives these like super indie artists and writers, many of whom are women, a nice little detail in their resume. They were in an Image book. They did, and end up having a cover that was like arguably incredibly racist, and Brandon Graham treated criticisms to that effect really poorly online. That was the idea. That comic was good. Yeah.
To tell of 2 different comics.
Yeah. I mean, truly. Yeah, bring anthologies back. Anthologies also, like just like the stuff with those bonus stories, like they're just great ways to test the waters.
Right.
Like, want to read, see what writers people gravitate to and what kinds of like stories, even if they're like the Bitch Planet stuff, but they're stories that take place within a previously realized world. That still is like a great way to turn people on to artists and writers and maybe give them more work at the imprint. But I don't know why Marvel does half the things they do.
Because Marvel, Hydra.
Hydra Entertainment.
For real. No, you're laughing. They might turn into that.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
don't say that. Don't put that out there.
I
take it back.
Oh man. So one question I have for both of you, and either one of you can go first, but was both, the one thing I love about the podcast is, you both are a great team, listening to both of you together. So each one of you, can you say what you enjoy most about, the other one as a partner?
I love that Jamie keeps me on task. I'm more than love, but I really do love that. And I feel like Jamie brings the balance that I needed to do something like this, because she'll bring up a point that or idea about a story arc that I wasn't thinking about, and I'm like, you know what, that's right, because I was just being off the cuff about it. So I really love that, and I don't know, like I just really adore Jamie, and I love it when she gets a little outside of her comfort zone and we get to hear her sing. And Jamie says some funny stuff on the podcast. I mean, she really does. She doesn't give herself that much credit, but she honestly really does. And it has me, doubled over in laughter. But I love that she brings the balance that I need sometimes when we're doing this. So Jamie, thank you.
Oh,
stop fussing at me though. I'm just playing.
I mean, what I love about Steph is she's just hilarious. I mean, you guys know, you read her tweets every day, and she is the real deal. And we got a chance to finally meet this year because NPR did an interview with us and profiled our podcast. And she's just as funny in person as she is online and as she is working with her as a podcaster. So she gets full credit for coming up with all of the episode titles. And I really love her catchphrases throughout the show. Like we mentioned before with Vixen's hair, the Wolverine on the top, the Rick James on the bottom. Like stuff like that is hilarious. And the followers and listeners, they tweet it out and they create memes around it. And it's fantastic. And I'm definitely not that creative to think of really funny things like that, like on a level that's relatable to our listenership, you know, like the whole love and hip hop thing with Cyclops. I would not think of stuff like that. So yeah, anyways, Steph is just hilarious and funny, and she's great to work with. And she's really hard. She's a really hard worker. Like she really puts her heart and her soul into doing all of the research behind this show, because as you guys know, I'm doing a lot with BGN, and I have a lot of other projects and doing fan con stuff. So I'm not able to be as attentive to the research process as I'd like to if I was doing this on a full-time basis. So a lot of that is credited to Steph and just giving me everything that I need to be like, okay, read through these issues and we'll be able to get through this podcast. So yeah, I'm incredibly grateful for Steph.
Well, I also want to give a huge thanks as another Black girl comic fan, you know, to another, like, you know, I told this to Deborah Whaley when her book came out, like, this is the stuff that, like, I sit there and I just, like, you know, I clutch my hands together. I said, like, oh, yes, thank you. Like, this is so, like, a dream come true. And to be able to see something that you, like, you hope and wish can happen, and it's out there and it's accessible and you can listen to it and can enjoy it and can like refer back to it. Like it's truly needed and it's truly appreciated. And like, you know, as an academic and as like a fan, I'm like, wow, like you all have hit the jackpot. And I'm not just saying that because like y'all cool peeps, but like, no, like for real, it really is that because of the way that you are heavily researched, because of the way that you engage with the material, because of the way that you're like bringing these characters to the center screen. And so like I'm just forever grateful because I'm like, man, you all have helped me, you know, be a better fan and be more engaged. So like I just had to put that out there because I was like, when am I going to get a chance to like talk to them? So when we were talking about how we wanted to put you on the show, I was like, I had to make sure to like thank you all for this because this is like a gold mine. So
thank you, Grace.
Thanks.
Oh, I'm all mushy now.
I know, right? I'm shedding nerd tears right now.
Let it go.
Just let it go. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, y'all. So, go on. I'm sorry.
No. I was gonna say I wanted to talk about Black Panther, but this is y'all's show.
Okay. Yeah. That's perfect timing. You read my mind because this is the segment of the show where we get into the chat. You know, so we talk about pop culture, or just anything that's on our minds, or anything we've been reading or watching. So yeah, the floor is yours. Let's talk about it.
Oh damn! No, I just wanted I wanted you all to consider to continue the conversation if you wanted to that you were having before we came on about Black Panther.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the trailer.
The trailer
no, we can definitely.
The trailer was dope. I love that, you know, Michael Poon Sizzling Jordan is looking like a double, looking like he could rap with the Migos. I'm here for that.
Wallace, little Wallace came. In my fan fiction, you know, that's where Wallace went. Like Wallace survived.
Wire. He made it actually.
Yeah, and then he went off to schools all over the world and became Killmonger.
Oh God.
So Wallace is all right, man.
I'm rooting for Killmonger. I know this is not gonna work out. I've read the books. I know, but I'm there for him. I'm sorry. Yeah. Dora Milaje too, but I'm there for Killmonger.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I mean the Dora Milaje just look incredible in this.
They look amazing.
Yes.
And
yes.
Shuri. Yeah. Is it February yet?
Not
No,
yet.
it's not.
We got 14 more weeks, I think. 15 weeks. Yeah.
Wow,
Well,
that actually makes it seem closer than it
It
Never
does.
go,
that's
right?
why I keep saying it.
But
Are y'all familiar with the Nakia storyline from the
Oh,
priest
from
run?
the priest run.
yeah,
Yes.
Do you
They're
think
not
they
going
might
to
touch
do
on
that.
that?
What? Say that again.
Do you think they might touch on
I
that?
think they may.
Okay.
I have a
Really?
theory that they might.
I'm here for the messiness.
I'm here
Okay.
for the messiness. And remember, it was announced that Denai Guerrera, who's Okoye, is going to be in
Mhm.
Infinity War.
right.
Where's the announcement for Lupita? Have we heard that?
Ooh.
So she gonna have T'Challa tied up butt naked.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Man, that did get
I'm
messy.
just wondering why she's not in Infinity War. That's all I'm saying.
Well, just for context, Steph, and I know that you'll describe it in a really hilarious way, but just for anyone who hasn't read that priest run, just break it down about what you're talking about.
Okay, so picture a thin line between love and hate, starring T'Challa and one of his young Dora Milaje, and basically, because one, you have the little kids running around as Dora Milaje in this, so she is enamored with this older, rich, strong, good-looking man, and I felt like she even said that to Monica Lynn, because you know what, she tried to kill Monica Lynn.
Yeah, she pushed her out of a helicopter.
And talking
Right.
about some Gonzalez, what did she say? Some Gonzalez.
Yeah, she can't even lie right.
She can't even lie right. I'm like, girl, that don't even sound right. So basically, she's head over heels and then some in love with T'Challa, and she's like really obsessed with him. And what happened? She ends up in. Does she end up in the Jabari lands? She ends up somewhere.
And I believe she ends up. Doesn't she end up with Killmonger? Like,
Yeah,
they end up
she
working
ends up
together?
with Killmonger, and she's brainwashed, and she is no longer Nakia, but she's now, I am forgetting the name that she's going by, but she's going by a different name. And like her quest is to get T'Challa to love her by any means necessary. Which
in any means.
any means, like she
Malice is the name.
Malice, yes. Malice.
There we go.
She prostitutes herself. Priest, he really went there, but yeah, because I'm gonna get graphic with y'all, but she's having sex with another man while T'Challa is on the other side of this mirror that is see through, and she's like, "Did you enjoy that?" And I mean, the whole time I'm clutching my pearls while I'm reading this because I'm just like,
Right.
where are we going with this? What is going on? So if they do that and they bring this in this movie in some way, shape, or form, at first I was just kind of like, I don't want to see that, but I'm messy, so I kind of do. So,
I'm curious to see how that would get put in there. Yeah.
Me too, because yeah. And that was an issue I took with how her story arc kind of panned out, as far as like, because the only other Dora Milaje we get to know in the priest run is she's not. Is she considered a Dora Milaje? Queen Divine Justice.
Queen Divine Justice.
Yes,
yes, she is. She is.
She is. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, little Queen Divine Justice and her. Ooh.
Oswald Bates, right?
Ooh, all little Oswald Bates. His daughter. Yeah, so they're like the only two Dora Milaje where we actually get like a story arc from, and their story arcs are so very different. Yeah. So for real, y'all, be thankful for World of Wakanda in the current Black Panther run in some capacity, because it's really shown Dora Milaje in a different light than they've been shown before. So
showing any kind of light, really.
I mean,
come on, spill that tea, Grace. Spill it.
Just
you talking about the huddle and run?
Yeah.
Wives in waiting, basically.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, so problematic. So
yeah.
That's another thing. I'm like, I wonder if I would have read it right then at the time when it was coming out, if I would feel differently. Yeah. I just wonder. I always wonder
about the priest run or
about the priest run.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I mean, it was fun. It was a lot. There was a lot there, and I think the Priest run for me personally, it exemplifies the idea of something maybe having issues, but you also can enjoy it while being critical.
Yep.
Right.
I totally agree with that.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's parts of the Priest run I'm like, I really love this, and there's other parts I'm like, huh, okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So
I have some notes from the feed right now.
What you got? What you got?
Shannon Miller, friend of the show, Black Comics Chat spot editor, as she's known, and
she rejected that job, Leo.
well, you know what? We're in talks. Let's just say we're in talks.
Misogynoir.
Shannon Miller says, "I'm rooting for everybody black in the Black Panther movie, which is going to make Black Panther a confusing journey." That is a good point because you pretty much want everybody to kick ass. Also, Do Ragnarok on Twitter says Misty's Afro is a blurred dream come true and a pleasure to listen to.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Joe Illich, the homie, J Pills the Don, says that y'all are a fluid bomb, formidable separately, explosive combined. That's how he combines.
Ooh, thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
High praise from the man right there. And meanwhile, the homie Jermaine Design on Twitter, you know him of the Superman avatar, as I'm sure you've seen it around, wants to know where you see the podcast 5 years from now. Do you plan to expand it? Do you have any weird ideas?
Oh, yes.
Looking out in the future?
Give us money, please.
That's a first step.
We just had this conversation during our production meeting.
Literally yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah. Definitely. I mean, we're currently with Audio Boom, and next season we're looking to monetize with the podcast network. So that's great. But if the opportunity presents itself to make this into a full-time thing, I am ready to jump on it. I briefly worked with Rewire for a while, and that was like the first time I was like paid as a podcaster, and I loved every moment of it. So I would love to take advantage of leaving my day job and making this my day job. And if that happens, great. But if not, I enjoy doing this process with Steph, and we are working to try to make this grow and build this into a bigger team. Because right now we have a pretty small team, but we've got some changes underway for season 3 for sure. We're going to switch up the format a little bit, so stay tuned for that. But it's hard to say where we see ourselves in 5 years. But I'm hoping by all of the folks that are so excited for Black Panther the movie that maybe they'll feel encouraged to start listening more to Black podcasts and Black comic book podcasts like Black Comics Chat, and then support us in a way where podcast networks can be like, you know what, this is a commodity. We need to jump on top of this.
Right.
But it definitely comes with fan support first.
Yeah. Preach.
Shannon.
What's up?
So yeah, I don't really know 5 years. Who knows? Hopefully Trump has not blown us up by then and we're still around.
Speaking of the beast that we usually try not to name.
Yeah, we had a little peaceful moment earlier.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Did you hear about this?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Just for archival purposes, for anyone who's listening to this in the future, like break down this magnificent moment.
So this, am I not mistaken? This occurred while we were on air.
I think it was a little before.
It happened
before we were on air.
When?
Yeah.
Oh, it happened before. It happened before it.
Yeah.
So somebody was quitting Twitter, and on their last day, they deleted 45's Twitter account.
Okay, so I didn't get that part of the tea. So it was intentional because the Twitter government account said that it was an accident.
There's
headbutting.
Yeah, they're spinning it like that, but I've seen quite a few stories that because the word accidentally appears the more recently you dig into the stories, but like originally it was like, yeah, he was like, fuck this. He just deleted it and bounced. And it's like, that is how you do your last day.
Yo, I want to buy that man a drink.
Absolutely. I will happily buy
Let me
that.
get you more than a drink.
11 minutes without it.
I didn't know at the time, but I just felt a peace wash over the earth.
Yeah,
you know, it was nice.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, like the air tasted a little bit sweeter, and I couldn't tell why.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I got super excited and tweeted about it in all caps, and
It was like
people were
that scene from The Wiz.
Are you sure?
The scene from The Wiz when everybody comes out. I forgot the song. I can't think of the lyrics right now, but I just envisioned that scene.
Can you
Yeah,
feel?
can you?
Oh yes.
Oh, Brand New Day.
Yeah.
That'd be the official song for this event.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh man, that's a good one.
I think we should all tweet our excitement so that Twitter, maybe makes this a permanent thing.
Yep.
I mean, it's already trending. Trump's Twitter's a trending hashtag, so everybody's talking about it. But they're not going to cancel his account.
No.
Yeah.
They make too much money off of having him on Twitter.
Sad but true. Yeah. Marcus, you have some other topics up in the doc that you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, well, I guess the big one, I definitely wanted to. Jamie touched on Universal FanCon earlier, but I think that's something that we should definitely give a little bit more light to. Black Comics Chat is planning on attending and participating.
Yeah.
We did. Do you know who set up the panel for Black Comics Chat to be there?
I do, but
this is I have an interesting segue based on that individual.
Yeah, I feel the segue coming. Let's do
it. This is kind of like a bonus surprise. So, you know him on Twitter as Tony Snark. That is writer Anthony Otero. Anthony helped set up a panel, and it's going to be celebrating Black Comics Chat and celebrating all kinds of stuff. And so we're going to be at Universal FanCon. That's very exciting. Further exciting is that we do want to announce on this episode that Anthony Otero is going to join the squad, our squad of 4. Tony is coming up in it, which is so awesome. And you've heard Tony, if you've heard the show before, you've heard him on other shows. He was recently on a show with some peeps, which I'll dig up and retweet a link for. But Tony's awesome. Tony has been a supporter, I want to say, practically from the word jump for this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a great dude. He's a real mensch, and he is going to be our 5th. We always end up with these nights where like some of us can't make it. This is a Black Comic Chat is obviously something we pull around our jobs, just like Misty Night is. So it's like if there's one person that we could put in here to help support us, to help us with our interviews and our regular show running and all that, it has to be Tony. So I am very happy to bring him onto the squad. So he is our 5th member. Yay! Applause!
Yay!
Yeah. That's what's up.
Tony, you're awesome. Man, I was so psyched to be able to announce this today. I don't know if you were going to announce it, Marcus. I stole your thunder.
No. I set you up, man. I lobbed it over the mound, man.
All right, no doubt. And Tony actually set up the panel for us to be at UFC. So yeah, that's the news. That's the big news this up.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Welcome to the squad.
Winning.
Yeah. So Grace, I think you had mentioned what was it, Superstition? So
thanks to Jamie and them posting it on Twitter, I was like, on Sci-Fi Channel Superstition, Mario Van Peebles. So I literally went to my DVR and I was like, okay, record series, like just off the rip. Didn't even, and then I went later on and dug into it, and I was like, let me check this out. And I'm intrigued still. There's been 2 episodes in. I like it. I don't even know how to describe it, but I love the immortal attachment to it. I love that this Black cast is talking about this idea of superstition and so forth. And I'm trying to remember what city it's located in.
It's in Georgia. I don't know what city. I think it's like a fictional city, but it's it's in the South in Georgia.
Yeah. So and I like the fact there's this diverse set of characters and actors and actresses that are in it. So people who have been in other movies, some that we may not have seen so much, some that were in a couple of B-rated movies, and that's not any shade. That's just only where I remember some of them. So, but yeah, I just like the diversity of the cast and the storylines and everything. Like I said, it's only 2 episodes in, I'm still there with them. So yeah.
Yay! I think more people need to be talking about this show. I don't understand why nobody's talking about it. I mean, I think personally, I just think it's monumental that we have a genre fiction show with Black people in it.
Right.
And it's a Black showrunner. There's Black writers. So when we talk about, we need more diversity in genre fiction, it's right here. Sci-fi is doing it. And Sci-fi, you guys need to promote it a little bit more.
I agree.
But I'm really excited for the show being on there, and also the folks that are behind the scenes, like the writers' room. They have a Twitter account, and they're so much engaged with the fans. Like, tweeted several articles from Black Girl Nerds, and thank you guys for retweeting those articles and showing some love. But yeah, you guys that are listening, please check out Superstition. It's good. I mean, if you're like a fan of Supernatural, because it's basically on the same wavelength of Supernatural, you know, it's this family that has these powers that are fighting all of these different supernatural beings, and you know, that's pretty much the story with them. And if you're a fan of that kind of genre fiction, then you're definitely going to love Superstition. So,
and I'm like,
thanks for shouting that out.
Yeah, I'm like just grateful because like I didn't have nothing on Friday to watch on TV, so I was like, this is perfect, you know. So
yeah, I wish it had a different time slot though, because it's
agree.
like you know, Fridays is
at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. That's the death knell for television. But if it was like on a Monday night, I figure it'd probably be a lot better. But you know,
but there's hope that maybe it could, you know, after this first run, that there's, you know, the hope that maybe it can get moved to another day. So
yeah.
Speaking of like dates, just quick aside, it's funny because I remember back in the day, like Friday was the hot day for television. Like I remember all the great shows came on Friday, and so it's like now, like you said, that's like not the day, you know. So that's where like shows go to die when they get moved to Friday. So yeah, just quick thought there.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they represent a pretty big chunk of that 4.8%, huh?
Yeah.
Like they're really holding some of those numbers like all on their own.
Big time.
Yeah.
Like after reading that article that you're kind of referring to there, like when the fact that I saw that like Hulu doesn't have any, I was like,
yeah.
Yep.
How in the hell does that happen? Well, not how in the hell, but like wow. So
it shows too.
Yep.
I tried to watch Freakish and I couldn't get into it.
Which one is Freakish?
Yeah, what's this one?
That's
a Hulu
one
show?
Yeah. Basically, I guess like something goes off in the town and people are turned into monsters, and these kids are stuck in a high school, and I forgot the name of the actor, but he played Tyrone in The Walking Dead, and he, spoiler alert, dies within the first couple episodes. But like it kind of shows that they
wait, Tyrone? You mean like
not Tyrone?
Oh, Tyreek.
Tyreek.
Oh, Chad Coleman.
Yeah, Chad Coleman. Yes.
Oh, they killed off Chad Coleman yeah,
quickly.
That brother cannot get a break.
So he can't get a break at all. I'm like, damn.
Man, hashtag let Chad live.
Right. Let him live. Let him live.
I wonder who's been writing. What about Los High?
I had seen some episodes of that show.
Because that was actually, I watched the first season. I thought it was pretty good. Because of Shannon had talked about it a lot, and I actually really liked it. I wonder.
I think I heard about it through Shannon too.
Yeah, Shannon be having gems when it comes to shows.
Yeah,
shout out to her.
Yeah, shout out to Shannon.
Definitely shout out to her. Also, Joseph P. Illage says that he started following the Superstition Writers account because of Jamie and stuff. Big and above.
Yeah, like big shout out.
I feel like I'm the only person promoting that show because so many people are like, I only found out about Superstition because of Black Girl Nerds. I'm like, really?
Yeah. I don't know what Sci-Fi is doing. Like I want them to have a win. I mean, I feel like they had Battlestar, but Battlestar was like over a decade ago.
Yeah.
And there's another show, Ghost something. There's another show on Sci-Fi that's got a Black female protagonist that nobody's talking about. I can't even remember the name of the show now. But
they're hiding them.
I'm just, I don't know. But That's the thing, though. It's like we kind of have to take those extra measures and those extra steps to try to reach out to promote those kind of shows and also promote books. You know, I know Joe's listening to the show, so Lion Forge and Catalyst Prime, and you know, all of those really great stories under their imprint. Like we need to just kind of make that effort to talk about those more, and that's why I'm so glad and grateful for this podcast, Black Comics Chat, because I know I learn a lot more about what books to check out and to read because of the stuff that you guys talk about. So, you know, sometimes it's not just going to be right there in our faces. We have to kind of dig a little bit to support.
Absolutely.
Or want to punch CBS in the neck for putting Star Trek on that damn paywall.
Yeah.
I've been watching. I ponied up the $5.99.
I seconded it. I did too. Yeah.
Because Shaniqua Martin Green has been phenomenal so far, and I mean, like really, really good. Like just Michael. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, I think I stand already, and that's crazy because the show hasn't been on for that long. But I will say that I'm a little irritated because I don't know if it was a Michelle Yeoh scheduling issue, and that's why she, you know, wasn't on the show that long or what. But
is she gone?
Yeah, she's gone. She was gone in like the second episode.
Yeah,
and it's just like, you know, the captain of the Discovery, like, definitely could have been another woman of color.
Oh man,
or her if it wasn't a scheduling thing. Like in that part, I'm just like, y'all could have tried a little harder on that.
I go back to all those kung fu flicks with her, man. I was actually looking forward for her to have a big role.
Yeah, it's
the way they advertised it, you know.
Exactly. They kind of lied to us.
Got the okie doke on that one
for sure.
But I mean, other than that, it actually has been really, really good. So, oh well. They have a season 2, so I guess the paywall hasn't hurt them too much, but it's just unfortunate because that's something that a lot of people could be enjoying. But
hopefully they'll bring in more.
I hope so. Well, Twilight Zone, something was tweeted out about a reboot and Jordan Peele being behind that.
Yeah.
And and I said, well, this comes out before season 2 comes around for Star Trek Discovery, then I won't cancel my subscription as soon as Star Trek season. My finger is on the cancel button as soon as Star Trek goes on like the little hiatus before they pick up for the second half of season.
You know what I was gonna do? I was just gonna wait until they were all out. And then
that's
you just pay for it, right? Like that's what people do with HBO now. So is CBS just aiming for just the Black streaming shows account? Is that what it is?
Yep, pretty much.
Huh. Interesting. But yet they can't make any money on shows that are led by Black leads. Is that also correct?
Right. Yep. Well, there's no room because they got NCIS Hoboken.
Isn't SWAT on there too?
Is that?
I think so. Because that sounds like something I wouldn't watch.
Who asked for that? Shamar Moore is in it, still looking fine as hell, but I just know.
I mean, he left Criminal Minds for that. So.
Yeah, and then speaking of real quick,
wait, he's on 2 shows?
Yeah.
No, he's not on.
Not anymore.
Minds anymore.
Oh, okay.
But speaking of that, real quick, Shamar Moore forever playing a cop of some sort. You guys heard about? Is it a? Wow, I can't think of names tonight. But the show that's going to be on Fox, or is it TNT or TBS? That will star Aisha Hines and
and Angela Bassett.
Something
like 911.
Yeah, and then like I don't know if you guys looked at the mentions under that announcement.
Were trying to act up.
Yeah, Hotep Twitter got on that, right?
So Lil Ponytail, Ice-T and and Shamar Moore can be cops for I don't know how many. Like, are y'all in, like, as Rebecca as Femme Fatale said, like, are y'all in their mentions? No, you're not.
I mean, Ice-T literally had a song called Cop Killer.
Right.
Yeah.
So just
Dodge Noir, I'm telling you.
It's real. It's so real.
It's a real thing.
Like they better hope their mama Wi-Fi is up so they can watch the show anyway.
Oh, they will. They will.
Right.
While they tweet angrily.
Yeah.
Yo, angry live tweet at 10, y'all. Oh man. Yeah, but no, I mean, I'm here for anything that Angela Bassett does, man. So it's all good.
Oh yeah, that's my birthday buddy right there. Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had the same birthday.
Oh, how did I not know that?
Nice.
Yes, yes.
No, that's a good one.
That's what's
Indeed.
up.
We're winding down. Marcus, are there other hot topics you wanted to discuss before we
Yeah.
think you have
great.
one, Leo.
I mean, I always have a
Yeah.
You talking about Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Kind of like
Yes.
so like all right, so like as listeners to the show may know, I think I've discussed Stranger Things on the show before. I while I liked the first season of Stranger Things, I am of the firm belief that there was nothing about it to me that communicated the need for 8 hours. I think it could have been a really effective movie. And like, while I liked it, I just felt like it went on a long time and I didn't get enough out of those hours to enjoy it. And I am 3 episodes into the second season and quite enjoying it. I'm enjoying season 2 but more than I enjoyed season 1, kind of like practically immediately.
I like to hear that, Leo, because I just finished the last 2 episodes of season 1.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're moving.
I'm with you on that one too.
Mm-hmm.
I just finished it myself, season 1. So yeah, I'm with you.
So what were your feelings on both of you? Your feelings on season 1?
Like I kind of felt the same way. Like the first 2 episodes out the gate, I was like, okay, cool, I'm into this. And then the middle happened and I just kind of lost interest.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that was partly because everyone was talking about it, and that can go one or two ways for me. I'll either be really hyped about something or just kind of turned off.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last 2 episodes happened, and then I was interested all of a sudden again. So to me, like that tells me that maybe the writing wasn't as tight as it could have been, or it could have just been a movie and then a series after that.
Oh yeah, perhaps. Like I think there was a movie's worth of story in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, like season 2, I feel like at least the start of it right now is very, very strong in terms of the writing, in terms of like the events. And maybe it's that for some reason they felt like they had to establish all this stuff in the first one so slowly, and season 2 obviously can dispense with that. You know, it can just like kind of dive right into things. So I don't know. I'm quite enjoying it, and I hope it keeps up. We're going to be talking about it. We're doing a special extra episode of the Scream Squad next week, and Chico and I are gonna discuss Stranger Things season 2. So we're getting through it. So yeah, right now it's a recommend for me. I'm liking it more than the first one. I mean, easily.
Popular opinion is everybody likes season 2 better than the first one, and I agree. Season 2 was phenomenal. I'm a Stranger Things stan, so my opinion's a little biased, but first season, I loved it out the gate. I love the nods to 80s nostalgia. I'm an 80s nerd through and through. Yeah. So like that first episode when they were playing D&D, I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to love this show. Yeah. So, you know, just all of these nods to my favorite movies of the 80s. Like they had the Pretty in Pink moment. They had a little bit of Poltergeist. They got a little bit of the Goonies in there. And season 2, you know, Leo, you haven't finished it, so I won't discuss it further, but it blew me away, and it topped the very first season. So I'm excited about season 3, and I'm so happy that Erica is going to have a more profound role in season 3 because she stole every scene.
That's the word.
Lucas's sister.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I gotta watch season 2 then.
Yeah.
I'm like Steph and Grace. You know, I didn't hate the first season, but I can definitely relate to what Steph was saying about how when everybody in the world is just like, this is the most amazing show of all time.
Right.
Yeah.
It can, you know, kind of dull your enthusiasm, but no, hearing.
And then they played Dragon's Lair and
I know.
Arcade. I was oh my God.
I love that.
I remember that game was so hard, y'all.
I've never beaten it in the arcade ever. I got like 4 minutes into it, if that.
I was like, Max got that score on Dragon's Lair. She's a beast.
I know, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. No,
Yeah.
and also like the references that I've seen in season 2, like just like season 1 had tons of references to 80s and 80s movies and Steven Spielberg movies and all that stuff.
Right.
Like there's like one of the details, and I'm looking for more, that I found in season 2 was to me more satisfying. For instance, Paul Reiser is in it.
Yeah.
And like
another nice nod to the 80s, by the way.
Right.
Casting.
Right.
Certainly, and I thought that there were some like subtle aspects or subtle referencing aspects of Paul Reiser to his character in Aliens, and I think that was on purpose.
It
And I was
probably,
like, that's good. That's pretty good.
yeah. I feel like everything is intentional with the Duffer Brothers.
Yeah,
They're just such 80s nerds. So, yeah. And then casting Sean Astin in it, like, they knew what they were doing. Like, I feel like Stranger Things, a lot of folks that love it are just wrapped in the nostalgia of it all. You know, it just reminds us of all of those great movies of the 80s that we really loved, whether it was the action adventure movies like The Goonies or Raiders of the Lost Ark, because there's even a Raiders of the Lost Ark moment with Hopper. Won't go any further, but that happens. So, I mean, it plays on our emotions of those movies at that time, and that's why I love it, and I know that's why a lot of people love it, because when I see articles written by TV critics or fans tweeting about it on social media, they talk about, you know, those memories and those moments from those movies, and that's why they love Stranger Things so much. And it's a very compelling, interesting story, and the actors are so good. I mean, Millie Bobby Brown kills it as 11. Freaking Gayton that plays Dustin, I love him. Like, all of the actors are just phenomenal to watch. So if Millie Bobby Brown does not get an Emmy, I will be mad. I will riot. Sorry, I could talk about Stranger Things all day.
No. It's all good. It's all good. If I could, Seventh Matrix, our homie Rod on Twitter, he asked us to quickly discuss the racist undertones with think pieces proclaiming that Star Trek fans enjoy the Orville more than Discovery.
Who the hell said that?
I've definitely seen a few. I've seen a few.
I haven't even seen the Orville, so I really can't.
I haven't seen it because
that question.
Yeah. No, I got no love for Seth MacFarlane. Basically, I feel like you know. I don't, man. Like I thoroughly enjoyed the first couple of seasons of Family Guy, and then it turned into what it did, you know. And like I feel like he's really become a one-trick pony, and I don't know, like the idea of it transcending Star Trek Discovery. I feel like they were ready to feel that way no matter what happened.
Of course,
Mm-hmm.
and reach they did.
Yeah. Oh, has anybody on the show seen the Orville?
No desire.
Not one.
Yeah, I've checked out. I'm like y'all. I've checked out a Seth MacFarlane for years now.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it already. It's called Galaxy Quest.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, like
which I enjoyed.
Yeah, no, Galaxy Quest was dope.
Yep.
Seth MacFarlane is like a walking fart. Just no, thank you.
Oh, and that's
the tagline.
There we go.
Is that allowed?
Yeah. No, for real. Also, like, just with all of the you know, obviously the revelations that are going on about the disgusting underbelly of Hollywood, and you know, the idea that Seth MacFarlane is kind of this dude that will, you know, smirkingly acknowledge that he knows about this stuff but not really do anything.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
like
that's troubling.
Yeah. So I mean, nah, forget that guy.
All right.
But you know.
All right.
Anyway, let's end on a happy note. Go listen to Misty Night's Uninformed Afro, y'all.
Yeah, and if you haven't heard the show yet, you've got a whole bunch of cool stuff to hear.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
One other to plug in this before we plug in of Misty Nights. I just want to point out the Lion King casting dropped today.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Grace.
peep that. No. I just, because there's just like a lot of blackness just oozing in that cast. So I just wanted to just drop that real quick, and then we can, roll out. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Shout out to everybody, man. You got Donald Glover, Beyonce, of course, James Earl Jones, Chiwetel, Alfred, man. It's just beautiful, man.
They even got a few choking whiteys.
Yeah, you got John Oliver. I'm with it.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
John Oliver, though, as Zazu is so perfect. Oh my gosh, he embodies everything of who Rowan Atkinson is. Like,
I dig it hard.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Really cool. Yeah. So it's a big deal.
I just want Beyonce, Nala, grown Nala, to sing Kitty Cat to Simba when they meet up later, and I'll
saw you tweeting that.
I really want that. I just want that to happen. It'll be a capception, and I just won't be able to handle myself. So,
oh God,
I need it.
And then you gotta have a music video with her and Donald Glover, kind of flashing back as lions and then people. Yeah.
Wearing that mask from Redbone. Oh Lord, that was you.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
That soundtrack is gonna be lit.
It is.
Yes.
That and Black Panther soundtrack will be so damn good.
Yep.
Oh man. We are ready. Anybody seeing Thor this weekend?
I'm seeing it tomorrow morning.
I might.
I'm seeing it Saturday.
Yeah. I don't have other plans, but I might check it out. I plan to check it out. I just don't know if it's going to be this weekend. But yeah. Heard good things about it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've heard a lot of good things already. And shout out to Tessa.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I'm going. I mean, to be real with y'all.
Yeah.
Although Mark Ruffalo did tweet out a picture of, a TBT from him back in the day, and I said, okay, Thor, all right. All right. Hulk smash, that's fine.
Oh God.
Who knew, right? I wasn't ready for that.
I did not see it, but
you gotta go. You got to go. If y'all haven't seen Mark Ruffalo's Throwback Thursday picture, go treat yourself just for a moment.
Okay, all right. To see what that's all about.
All right. Oh, and one last thing to the listeners: make sure on Friday and Saturday night you stay tuned to Steph's Twitter feed, because she is always putting out the bomb B movies. I've discovered some gems on there. So
yeah, I have found the blacker side of Amazon Prime, and that is like my highlight. So yes, if you have not watch Plug Love.
Yep. My side piece.
My side piece.
The name.
What is Married Men and Side Chicks? Just all of it. I'm about to watch The Thought Process next, and it sounds.
Wait, is that as in thought? THOT? That
it sure is.
Oh no!
Thought process.
That just shows. See, I assumed there was an OUGH in there. I didn't even realize. Okay.
Grace was on it. She knew.
Wow.
Oh, so that's my.
So she'll give you some movie recommendations.
Yes,
definitely check it out.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. But definitely check out Black Girl Nerds. Check out the Lemonade podcast. Let go. Everything.
All right. And shout out to the incredible Black Comic Chat audience who was like in full form tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
For this, they were here for Misty Night. They were here for Black Comic Chat. That's what's up.
Yeah. Most
always
definitely.
showing the love.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah. Any last things you want to plug, Stephanie and Jamie?
Tune into our show next Wednesday. We're featuring Nubia.
Ooh,
should be interesting.
Be a good one.
Oh, it's gonna be a good one, all right. No, y'all for real gotta tune in.
Yeah, I was actually drinking during that recording.
Please tune in.
Oh, yes.
All right.
I heard the preview. I heard the preview, so yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah. Just check out MQA podcast, MKUA podcast.com's website. And thank you guys for listening to us on this interview tonight. And
Yeah,
I know
thank
a lot
you.
of you guys that have been tweeting with us are listeners of the podcast. So we appreciate your support last season and this season. And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Leo and Grace, where can people find you, or what do you want to shout out?
GBreezy20 on Twitter, Love Jones 20 on the IG. That's where you can find me. And if you're in the ATL, you can come to my class, as always.
That's right.
Dope. I'm at Leonardo EFF on Twitter. You can find my writing on Black Girl Nerds on the Regs, and I also write for The Iranian, which is at Iranian.com. You can see a bunch of my writing there too. And I'm on the Scream Squad again next week. Try and watch Stranger Things season 2 along with us so that you can hear us yammer about it. But I'm on the Scream Squad with Chico Leo on the Fan Bros Network. And I love everybody. I love our Black Comic Chat audience. Welcome, Tony. And yeah, this is it's really like this. It's so much fun to have y'all on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
I do got one last request of Leo, because like I missed it. Like I didn't get my Valiant, plug in.
Oh, because I've been too like I did some Valiant talk last week. I honestly have not caught up on because we did an episode a week later, so I have not caught up on Valiant this week. But we have a Black Comics Chat episode tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
I will, and that will give us plenty of time for me to yammer about my love for Valiant.
So I shall follow up tomorrow. All right.
That'll be tomorrow.
Yeah. So everyone tune in tomorrow. I always forget to shout out what I'm doing. So you can find me on Twitter at Marcus Kwame, and marcuskwame.com. You can check out my art and comic books. And that's it.
All right.
So yeah, check us out tomorrow, and everyone have a good night. And thank you, Black Comics audience, and thank you, Jamie and Steph.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great show.
No, thank you.
All right, y'all.
Peace. Good night.
Bye.